Small journalistic victory today. I got a request approved for obtaining and publishing video recorded on February 14th of 2022 of the RCMP interviewing Anthony Olienick. This video was used as evidence in the trial. Robert Kraychik reporting for Rebel News here in Lethbridge, Alberta. Carbert and Anthony Olienick are both being charged with conspiracy to murder. This charge carries a potential penalty of life imprisonment. The Crown is accusing the two men of conspiring to murder police officers during their time participating in the 2022 Coutts protest and blockade. The two men are also charged with unlawful possession of a firearm for a dangerous purpose. They're also both charged with mischief over $5,000, and Anthony Olienick is charged with unlawful possession of an explosive device for a dangerous purpose. The two men have pled not guilty to all charges against them. The 2022 Coutts protest and blockade was a peaceful and civilly disobedient demonstration, much like the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa around the same time. Both protests were broadly opposed to this governmental apparatus of surveillance and control marketed to us as a public health measure to reduce COVID-19 transmission. The Coutts protest intermittently obstructed traffic across the U.S.-Canada border, where Coutts intersects with Sweetgrass, where Alberta links with Montana. Today's proceedings were dedicated to testimony from two Crown witnesses, both RCMP officers. The first, his name is Ken Kwan. He is a digital forensic analyst. He examined the mobile phones of the two defendants and used certain software and applications to extract data from the phones and then de-encrypt it as necessary, then filtering and sorting information in accordance with parameters set out in the search warrant to investigate the two defendants' phones. The second, her name is Amy Brienne DeForest. She is an intelligence analyst, and she examined the data that was extracted by her colleague, Kwan, and then filtered it for the purposes of an investigation. DeForest's testimony revolved around a PowerPoint presentation that she brought with her. And several of the slides in that presentation contained text messages that had been extracted from phones belonging to either Carbert or Anthony Olienick or other phones with which the two defendants had communicated. Now, forgive me in advance, it was very difficult to follow because there was so much information on each slide and the slides were moving quite quickly. So the texts I'm about to share with you, I cannot specify who sent them or received them. However, that's another opportunity for me to submit an evidentiary release form in which I can see those slides myself and then add that context going forward in future reports. So here are some quotes, some text messages that were sent and received from these phones. I know I am going to die. Another one, they touch anyone, it's full open season. Another quote, that's why I am here, sacrifice if needed. Another, we'll send heavy hitters if needed. Another, love you if shit goes sideways tonight. Another, if we don't stand, I don't know when, if ever, this will end. Lastly, they are the enemy. Everyone involved was very gracious in responding to my request for this video, all the way from the initial intake of my form via the courthouse staffers to the judge, the prosecutors, and the defense attorneys. Justice David Lebrans, the judge presiding over this trial, asked the prosecutors and defense attorneys if there were any objections to releasing this video for Rebel News to publish. Prosecutors Aaron Rankin, Stephen Johnston, and Matthew Delitowicz had no issues. Delitowicz gave me a flash drive with the video on it, and Marilyn Burns, representing Anthony Olienick, told me that her client had no issues with it either. Ditto from Catherine Bayak, who is representing Carbert. If you folks think this trial is of deep importance to Canadians and requires a committed journalistic effort, remember there are essentially no mainstream news media outlets here on any sort of regular basis. I'm here every day. I basically never see them. And unlike the so-called mainstream media, we don't get handouts from the federal government. We're not compromised by the machine and bought off to say what we're expected to say. That said, We depend on our generous audience to continue this journalistic enterprise. So please help us out, donate, contribute so we can keep this program going. Visit truckertrial.com, help us out, and also stay up to date with our ongoing coverage.